The 911 call came in at 2:14 a.m. A woman whispering so quietly the dispatcher could barely hear her. "He's inside. He's been inside for hours. He's been watching us sleep." The dispatcher asked how she knew. The woman's voice cracked. "I woke up and saw him standing at the foot of my bed. When I opened my eyes, he put his finger to his lips. He's still in my house somewhere." Police arrived 6 minutes later. They searched every room, every closet, every possible hiding space. The house was empty. But in the corner of the master bedroom, they found a chair, positioned perfectly to watch the bed. Still warm. Someone had been sitting there for hours, just watching. And before we go any further into these nightmare cases that keep investigators awake at night, make sure you subscribe and hit that like button, because what you're about to hear will make you check every lock in your house tonight. Home invasions are supposed to follow a pattern. Break in, steal things, get out. Quick. Efficient. But sometimes, people break into homes for reasons that have nothing to do with theft. Sometimes, they break in just to watch. To wait. To do things that investigators can't explain even after decades of experience. These are those cases. These are the home invasions that still terrify the people who investigated them. Let's start with a case from 2009 that changed how investigators think about home invasions entirely. The Peterson family lived in a quiet suburb outside of Denver. Standard middle-class neighborhood. Good schools. Low crime. On a Tuesday night in March, the family went to bed as usual. Tom and Sarah Peterson, their 2 kids aged 7 and 9. Nothing unusual. At 3:30 a.m., Sarah woke up thirsty and went downstairs to get water. When she flipped on the kitchen light, she screamed. There was a man sitting at their kitchen table, eating a sandwich, using their dishes, like he belonged there. Tom came running. The man didn't move, didn't run, just sat there, eating, looking at them. Tom grabbed a baseball bat and told the man to get out. The man finished his sandwich first. Then he stood up, smiled, and said, "Thanks for the food. I've been eating here for weeks." Then he walked out the back door. Police arrived and searched the house. What they found made everyone's blood run cold. In the attic, they discovered a small living space, a sleeping bag, a pillow, empty food containers, and a photo album filled with pictures of the Peterson family. Pictures taken inside their house, while they slept, while they ate dinner, while the kids played. Over 100 photos. The man had been living in their attic for at least 3 weeks. Coming down at night when they slept. Eating their food. Watching them. Taking pictures. Police never caught him. The Petersons moved out within a week. Sarah still has nightmares about all the nights she walked past the attic stairs, never knowing someone was up there. And investigators still don't know who he was or why he chose that family. And they don't know if he's doing it to someone else right now. Now let me tell you about a more recent case that shows the terror doesn't always happen during the invasion. In 2017, the Sanchez family in Orlando, Florida experienced a break-in while they weren't home. When they returned, they found their back door forced open. They called police. Standard procedure. But surprisingly, nothing appeared stolen. TV, jewelry, electronics, all still there. The only thing disturbed was the computer in the home office. It had been turned on. They thought the burglar had been scared off. 3 weeks later, Maria Sanchez received an email at work. The subject line was, "I was in your house." The email contained detailed descriptions of the inside of her home. What furniture they had. What was in their refrigerator. And photos. Photos taken from inside their house. Of their bedroom. Of their children's rooms. Then the email said, "I still have access. I can come back whenever I want." Police traced the email but hit dead ends. They examined the computer and found keylogging software installed during the break-in. The family had been compromised for 3 weeks. But it got worse. Police swept the house and found hidden cameras. 4 of them. In the living room, kitchen, master bedroom, and bathroom. Every private moment for 3 weeks had been watched and recorded. The emails stopped after the cameras were found, but the damage was done. The Sanchezes sold the house at a loss. Couldn't live there anymore. The case remains unsolved. And here's what terrifies investigators: how many other break-ins where nothing is stolen are actually surveillance installations? How many families are being watched right now without knowing it? Let's talk about the case that's known in law enforcement circles as the Watcher. In 2014, the Broaddus family purchased their dream home in Westfield, New Jersey. Shortly after moving in, they received a letter. No return address. It said, "Welcome to my home. I have been watching this house for decades. My grandfather watched it before me, and his father before him. Do you know the history of the house? Do you know what lies beneath? I am pleased to know your names and the names of your children. I'll be watching." More letters came. Each more disturbing. Asking about the children's bedrooms. Asking which child had which room. Saying things like, "I must know who you are and why you are here." The family couldn't live there. The psychological terror was too much. They tried to sell but had to disclose the letters. No one wanted to buy a house being watched by an unknown stalker. They lost their life savings and eventually sold at a significant loss. Police investigated extensively. No DNA. No fingerprints. Nothing. The case remains unsolved. The new owners have received no letters. Here's what makes investigators' skin crawl: someone in that neighborhood knows who wrote those letters. The level of detail means it has to be someone local. Someone who seems normal. And they got away with psychologically torturing a family out of their home. The Watcher never physically invaded their house, but they invaded every aspect of their lives. And that's a violation that can't be fixed with locks and alarms. Now let me tell you about Daniel LaPlante, a case that shows home invasion horror can hide for decades. In 2015, a man was arrested for an unrelated offense. His DNA matched an unsolved home invasion from 1987. 28 years earlier. The original case was horrific. A family had been terrorized for weeks by someone breaking into their home. Things moved. Noises. Shadows. Then one night, they came home to find their daughter's bedroom trashed. Satanic symbols on the walls. And they saw him. A teenager covered head to toe in makeup and clothes, holding a hatchet. He attacked. The family escaped. Police found him hiding inside a wall. He'd been living in their walls for weeks, coming out at night to terrorize them. That teenager was caught and institutionalized. But the DNA match in 2015 revealed there had been 2 of them. LaPlante had never been caught. He'd moved away, started a new life. During interrogation decades later, he admitted to living in multiple families' homes over the years. In walls, in attics, in basements. He said it was a thrill. He talked about listening to families from inside their walls, learning their routines, their secrets. He said his favorite thing was moving objects slightly so families would think they were imagining things. Gaslighting them from inside their own walls. LaPlante is serving life now. But he admitted to living in at least 7 different homes over the decades. Only 3 families have been identified. That means there are families who have no idea someone was living in their walls, watching them. And LaPlante won't reveal which houses. The investigator said it's the most disturbing case he's ever worked. Those families' homes have been compromised for extended periods. And some still don't know it happened. Let me tell you about the case that changed home security recommendations nationwide. The Petit family murders in Connecticut, 2007. 2 men broke into the Petit home in the middle of the night. They'd been watching the family, knew their routine. They held the family hostage for hours. Dr. William Petit was beaten and restrained. The men forced his wife Jennifer to go to the bank and withdraw money, threatening to kill her family. She complied, but the bank manager called police. While Jennifer was at the bank, the men assaulted the daughters. When Jennifer returned, they strangled her. Then they set the house on fire with the daughters still tied to their beds. Dr. Petit managed to escape from the basement. His wife and daughters died in the fire. The 2 men were caught and convicted. But here's what haunts investigators: this wasn't random. The men had followed Jennifer from a supermarket. They chose this family because they looked wealthy. They planned everything. Dr. Petit survived but lost his entire family. The case led to major changes in how police respond and how banks handle duress situations. But it also proved something terrifying: your home isn't as safe as you think. The Petit family did everything right. Nice neighborhood. Locks. Security system. But none of that stopped 2 determined criminals. The lead investigator gives lectures now. He always ends with the same point: determined criminals will find a way in. The best you can do is delay them long enough for police to arrive. The Petit case proved that monsters don't just live in bad areas. They go where the money is. Here's a case that shows how technology creates new vulnerabilities. In 2016, teenagers in Florida were arrested for home invasions. What made it unusual was how they selected targets. They scrolled through Instagram and Facebook looking for people who posted about vacations. Photos from the beach with captions like, "Best vacation ever." Once they found someone clearly away from home, they'd look through photos for clues about where they lived. If they could determine the location, they'd break in while the family was definitely away. They targeted over a dozen houses before being caught. The investigator said it was a wake-up call about social media safety. Those vacation photos showing you're not home. You're advertising that your house is empty. The teenagers received juvenile sentences. But people still post their entire lives online. Investigators see burglary victims who posted about their vacation on Facebook the day before they left. The convenience of sharing our lives online has created vulnerabilities that criminals are exploiting. Let me tell you one final case, and this one is ongoing. In 2022, a family in Texas started experiencing strange occurrences. Items moved. Doors they'd locked would be open. Food missing. They installed security cameras. What they captured made them call police immediately. Every night around 3 a.m., their garage door would open. A man would enter, walk through the house, help himself to food, sometimes watch them sleeping, then leave. He'd been doing this for 3 weeks. Police caught him, and during interrogation, he admitted breaking into homes in the neighborhood for months. Not to steal. Just to be in them. He said empty houses felt wrong. He wanted to be near people while they slept. Said it made him feel less alone. He'd lost his family years ago and couldn't cope with loneliness. Breaking into occupied homes and watching people sleep was his way of feeling connected. He's receiving mental health treatment now. But here's what terrifies investigators. This man broke into multiple homes for months and no one noticed until this family installed cameras. How many other homes did he enter? And how many other people are doing the same thing right now? The investigator said this type of crime, invasion for psychological reasons rather than theft, is increasing. People who are lonely, isolated, mentally ill, finding comfort in violating other people's spaces. It's a new kind of home invasion that security measures might not prevent. Because these aren't criminals looking for valuables. They're looking for something else. Something harder to understand and harder to stop. So here we are. You've heard about the home invasions that still terrify investigators. The man who lived in an attic for weeks. The family whose home was bugged with cameras. The watcher, who terrorized a family with letters. LaPlante, who lived in people's walls. The Petit family tragedy. The teenagers who used Instagram to find targets. And the lonely man who broke in just to watch people sleep. These cases prove home invasions aren't always about theft. Sometimes they're about power. Sometimes psychological gratification. Sometimes loneliness or obsession. And that's what makes them terrifying. You can install alarms and cameras and locks. But how do you protect against someone who doesn't want your stuff? Someone who wants to watch you, to violate your sense of security in ways that have nothing to do with theft. Investigators will tell you the scariest part isn't violent criminals with clear motives. It's cases where they can't understand why someone did what they did. Where the invasion serves no logical purpose beyond the invasion itself. Those are the cases that keep them awake. Those are the cases that make them check their own locks multiple times. The families who've experienced these invasions want you to know it changes you fundamentally. Your home is supposed to be your sanctuary. When that's violated, you lose something you can never fully get back. You become hypervigilant. Every sound at night is a threat. Every shadow could be an intruder. You can't relax anymore. Some families move and never feel safe in the new place either. Because once you know how vulnerable you really are, you can't unknow it. So tonight, when you lock your doors and turn off the lights, remember these stories. Not just to scare you, though they should. But to remind you that your safety isn't guaranteed. That bad things happen in good neighborhoods. That locks help but aren't foolproof. That the person who breaks in might not want your TV. They might want something much worse. They might want to watch you sleep. Or live in your walls. Or prove they can violate your space whenever they want. Check your locks. Check your windows. Check your attic and basement. Be careful what you post online. Change locks after contractors have access. Install cameras. Trust your instincts when something feels wrong. Because sometimes, that feeling you're being watched isn't paranoia. Sometimes, someone really is watching. Sometimes, they're already inside. And by the time you realize it, they've taken something you'll never get back. Your sense of safety. Your peace of mind. Your ability to sleep soundly without wondering if someone is standing at the foot of your bed, watching, waiting, just like they do in the cases that still terrify investigators decades later. Sleep well. If you can.